Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. This is 6-Path Weeb. Today, we are diving into a massive crossover fanfiction scenario that breaks all the rules. What if Naruko ate 2 devil fruits? We are going to explore exactly how this would alter her journey, her power scaling, and the shinobi world as we know it. As always, a quick disclaimer before we begin: the content on this channel is created strictly for entertainment and discussion purposes. I do not claim ownership of any anime footage used in these videos. All rights and credits belong to their respective creators and copyright holders. With that out of the way, let's jump right into the story. The evening sun dipped below the trees of the Leaf Village, casting a warm golden glow over the quiet streets. A young girl named Naruko darted through the pathways, her bright blonde hair flowing behind her like a ray of sunshine, and her sparkling blue eyes looking for a place to play and rest. She wore a simple black t-shirt with a bright orange swirl and sturdy shorts. Naruko had been feeling a bit lonely lately. Sometimes, the villagers did not quite understand her energetic spirit, and tonight, she just wanted to find a peaceful spot in the forest to watch the stars. Using her impressive agility, she hopped over fences and dashed into the nearby woods. As she hurried along the riverbank, her foot caught on a slippery mossy stone. With a surprised yelp, she tumbled down the gentle slope and landed with a soft splash in the shallow, cool water of the stream. Pulling herself onto the grassy bank, Naruko felt a little tired and brushed the mud off her clothes. She curled up beneath a large oak tree, resting her head on her knees. Just as a small sniffle escaped her, a deep, resonant, and unexpectedly gentle voice echoed in her mind. "There is no need to be sad, little one," the mysterious voice hummed. Naruko lifted her head, looking around the quiet forest. "Who is there?" she asked softly. "Close your eyes and listen closely to my voice," the phantom presence guided her. Naruko did as she was told. When she opened her eyes again, she was no longer in the forest. She stood in a vast, calm room where the floor was covered in a thin layer of crystal-clear water. Before her stood grand, shimmering gates. Behind them, 2 massive eyes peered out, but they did not look scary. They looked ancient and wise. Slowly, a magnificent, mountain-sized fox with 9 swishing tails stepped into the light. "I am the 9-tailed fox," the great beast spoke, his voice rumbling like distant thunder. "Long ago, a great magic was used to safely tuck me away inside you to protect the world." Naruko looked up in awe. "You live inside me?" "I do," the fox replied kindly. "I have watched you grow. I know it has been hard feeling so misunderstood in the village. Because you have such a brave and kind heart, I want to offer you a wondrous gift. I can send you to a brand new world, a magical place where you can start fresh, make wonderful friends, and go on amazing adventures." Naruko's bright blue eyes widened with hope. "Really? You would do that for me?" "I promise, upon my 9 tails," the fox said softly. "Step forward and place your hand on the gate." As Naruko reached out, the gates dissolved into a shower of warm, golden sparkles. The giant fox lowered his head to her level. Suddenly, the space was filled with a bright, comforting light, and Naruko felt 2 pairs of arms wrap around her in a loving hug. She turned around and gasped. Standing there was a handsome man with blonde hair just like hers, and a beautiful woman with long, vibrant red hair. "Hello, our sweet Naruko," the woman said, her voice like a soothing melody. "Mom? Dad?" Naruko whispered, a joyful smile spreading across her face. "That is right, sweetheart," her mother, Kushina, smiled brightly. "You are just as beautiful and spirited as we always dreamed you would be." Minato, her father and the heroic 4th Hokage, beamed with pride. "We are so sorry we could not be there to watch you grow up, Naruko. When you were just a baby, a great danger threatened our home. We had to use a very powerful spell to protect the village, and that spell meant we could not stay with you." Naruko hugged them both tightly. "It is okay. I know you did it to protect everyone. You are heroes." The giant fox smiled warmly at the family reunion. "I brought them here so you could see them before we journey to our new world," he explained. "Since you are going on a grand adventure, we want to give you some special gifts," Minato said. He gently placed his hand on Naruko's shoulder. Instantly, she felt a rush of wonderful knowledge. Her father gifted her the secrets of the wind and how to safely pack her belongings using clever magic seals. Kushina placed her hand on Naruko's other shoulder. She shared the gentle magic of the water and the wisdom of how to be a brave, kind, and loyal friend to everyone she met. "Wow, I feel so much smarter and stronger." Naruko cheered, bouncing on her toes. Her parents leaned down and kissed her cheeks. "Remember, Naruko," Kushina said softly, "always follow your heart and be kind. We believe in you," Minato added, "and no matter where you go, we will always love you." As her parents began to slowly fade into sparkling light, Naruko waved enthusiastically. I love you too, Mom and Dad. I will make you proud and show this new world exactly what Naruko Uzumaki Namikaze can do. When the light settled, Naruko turned to the giant fox with a brilliant smile. Thank you so much for letting me see them, Mr. Fox. The fox chuckled softly. My true name is Kurama. I only share it with my closest friends. And you, little Naruko, have certainly proven to be a wonderful friend. Does that mean we are best friends now? Naruko asked happily. Yes, little one, I believe it does, Kurama smiled. Now, rest up. Tomorrow, our brand new adventure begins. The night breeze drifted through the forest as Naruko prepared for a grand journey. She wore a cozy black hoodie with a bright red swirl on the back and a red stripe running down each sleeve, paired with cool black and white camouflage pants and sturdy ninja sandals. Her hood was down, revealing a face glowing with pure excitement. She grabbed her trusty black backpack, filled to the brim with snacks, clothes, and special wind scrolls her father had left just for her. All right, kiddo, hold on tight to that bag because here we go. Cheered Kurama. Suddenly, a brilliant, warm light wrapped around Naruko, illuminating the entire forest. Smiling widely, she felt as if she were zooming through a magical tunnel of colors, traveling faster and faster toward a bright, welcoming glow at the very end. Whoosh! Suddenly, Naruko was tumbling from the sky, and everywhere she looked, there was nothing but beautiful, sparkling blue ocean. Ah! She cried out in surprise as she zoomed toward the water. Down below, she spotted a large, dark shape. Naruko! Try to steer yourself toward that ship, or you are going to get very wet. Kurama called out helpfully. Naruko did her best to twist and turn in the air. She did not land right on the deck, but she made a gigantic splash in the water right next to it. As she bobbed beneath the surface, her eyes grew as wide as dinner plates. She had bumped right into a giant, scaly sea creature. It was as tall as a mountain. Startled, she paddled to the surface as fast as her arms and legs would carry her. Gasping for fresh air, she popped her head above the waves. The giant creature rose above her, looking very curious but incredibly big. Oh my goodness, what do I do? She squeaked. Just then, a loud, booming sound echoed across the water. A shiny, round cannonball splashed loudly nearby, sending a huge wave over the creature. Surprised by the sudden noise, the giant sea monster quickly turned and swam away into the deep blue. Hey there! Grab the rope. A thick rope dropped right in front of Naruko. Clutching her backpack tightly, she grabbed on with both hands. With a steady pull from above, she was hoisted up until she safely tumbled over the wooden railing and onto the deck of the ship. Naruko caught her breath, resting on her hands and knees. What was that giant thing? That was a sea king, little one, and a pretty tiny one at that. Naruko looked up to see a friendly-looking man. He wore sandals, patterned brown pants, a red sash holding a sword safely at his side, a white shirt, and a black captain's coat draped over his shoulders like a cape. He had bright red hair and 3 neat marks across his eye. Looking around, she saw his cheerful crew. One man had dark hair pulled back, wearing a black shirt and a yellow sash. Another was a jolly, round man in a green and white striped shirt, happily munching on a giant snack. The last was a fun-looking man with curly blonde hair, a blue shirt, and a bandana with the name Yasop written on it. Thank you so much for saving me. I really appreciate it, Naruko said politely, standing up and dusting herself off. I am Naruko Uzumaki Namikaze. The red-haired captain gently shook her hand, looking at her with a twinkling eye. Naruko? Like the little swirly fish cakes? He started to chuckle warmly. Naruko puffed out her cheeks. Hey! It means a powerful whirlpool. She pouted playfully. Do not worry, I am just teasing you, the captain smiled. My name is Shanks, and this is my crew. He pointed to his friends. That is Ben Beckman, my first mate. You are officially aboard the Red Hair Pirates ship, Miss Whirlpool. But what I really want to know is how a young girl like you ended up all alone out here in the ocean, Shanks asked, his voice growing gentle and caring. Naruko looked down, feeling a little shy. It is a long story, and I do not usually tell people about my past. Well, why don't you just tell me, Ben, Rue, and Yasop? We are wonderful listeners, Shanks offered kindly. Naruko thought for a moment. What do you think, Kurama? She asked in her heart. They seem like very kind people, Naruko. The captain reminds me a bit of your mother. I think they are very safe, Kurama replied warmly. Naruko smiled and nodded at Shanks. They moved to the cozy captain's cabin, where Naruko sat down and shared her story. She talked about growing up feeling very lonely, and how some people in her village had been unkind and left her out of their games. The sailors listened quietly, their faces showing how much they cared. They felt very sad that someone so sweet had gone through such lonely times. Then, Naruko cheerfully explained about her special fox friend, Kurama, and how she had finally learned about her wonderful parents. "I want to grow strong so I can protect the people I care about," she declared bravely. "I want to do great things and make lots of friends." She also mentioned the funny advice her mother had given her about finding good friends, which made Shanks chuckle again. "You really look up to your mom, huh?" Shanks smiled. "I sure do. She was amazing." People called her the Crimson Flash. Naruko cheered. Suddenly, Shanks shivered playfully, imagining a very strong, fiery woman scolding him to be on his best behavior. Naruko. Did your mom happen to have bright red hair?" Shanks asked carefully. Naruko nodded brightly. "She sure did." "How did you guess?" Shanks laughed nervously. "I think I can just feel her telling me to take good care of you." Naruko giggled happily, and even Kurama chuckled inside her mind. Wiping a happy tear from her eye, Naruko looked at the four kind men. "Please, I want to learn to be strong and brave like you. Kurama says you are all very amazing." The four men looked at each other in surprise, then shared warm, encouraging smiles. Shanks patted his knee. "All right, Naruko. We will help you." Naruko's face lit up, and she was about to jump with joy before Shanks gently held up a hand. "But first, you have to practice everything your parents left for you, okay?" "Thank you, thank you, thank you." Naruko cheered, wrapping her arms around Shanks in a big hug. Shanks patted her head softly. "You are welcome, kiddo. We will help you become one of the best adventurers in the whole wide world." Naruko tilted her head, her blonde hair swishing. "What is a pirate, Shanks?" Shanks smiled and explained all about the grand adventures of being a pirate, exploring the beautiful seas, and making lifelong friends. He also told her about the Navy and how there are good people everywhere who just want to help others. He promised that whatever path she chose, they would gladly support her. Naruko smiled brightly. She decided she loved the idea of sailing the open seas, discovering magical new places, and making wonderful friends far more than following strict rules. She was completely ready for a grand, happy adventure. Somewhere at the Navy headquarters, Akainu sneezed loudly. "Oh my, Akainu, I hope you are not catching a cold. Perhaps you have been spending too much time in the chilly air with Aokiji," Borsalino noted with a bright tone. "Please quiet down, Kizaru," Akainu sighed, feeling just a little bit annoyed. Back with the Red Hair Pirates on a peaceful, uninhabited island about 5 years later, Naruko had done exactly as Shanks suggested, practicing the wonderful lessons her parents had prepared for her. Her chakra control was improving beautifully, and she was learning the magic of walking on water. She could even cheerfully skate alongside the ship for a few days before needing a cozy nap to recover her energy. Her scroll work was exactly where her father had paused the instructions. She could make bright firework tags and clever storage scrolls with ease, though she hoped to get just a little faster at it, perhaps inventing a fun way to place a surprise tag as swiftly as her father did with his special technique. She had mastered her elemental magic so well that she could gently part a giant boulder into 2 smooth pieces. Now, her next big goal was to magically part a rushing waterfall. That exciting challenge would have to wait until they visited the next island, as this one unfortunately did not have a waterfall. She had already learned fun air tricks like the breeze dance, wind gust, and great whirlwind. She had even invented her own special move. She called it the Mighty Stomp. By using her wind energy to build up a gentle, bouncy cushion under her feet, she could leap incredibly high or make a grand, joyful entrance. Currently, she was practicing her stealth by playing harmless, silly games of hide and seek with her surrogate father, Shanks, much to his playful exasperation. "Oh, Naruko. Where are you, you little rascal? Why is my favorite shirt suddenly glowing bright neon orange?" Shanks marched around the island looking for the little ninja pirate, but try as he might, he could not find her. He, I know exactly how to draw you out, you silly girl," Shanks thought to himself with a grin. "Ah, well then, I suppose I will just have to eat all this delicious ramen Ru made for you." Suddenly, a mop of golden hair popped up right in front of him. "Ru made me ramen?" Naruko asked, as happy as could be, only to be scooped up in a warm, playful hug. "He certainly did. But first, you are getting the biggest noogie in the world," Shanks laughed. Naruko giggled and wiggled, but it was no use as Shanks gave her a very silly, gentle rub on top of her head until her hair was wonderfully messy. Shanks let her go and patted his clothes, looking at the girl fixing her hair with a warm smile. "Come on, kiddo. Let us go get some ramen." He patted the girl's head as they walked back together. "Say, Shanks, Naruko began nicely. Since I have learned most of what my parents left for me, could you help me practice with a training sword? Naruko asked somewhat nervously. Shanks raised an eyebrow at this, knowing her mother was legendary for her beautiful and graceful fencing. Well, I thought you wanted to learn your mother's special style, Shanks said gently. I have practiced it. Naruko quickly chimed in, looking just a little bit worried about what she had discovered. But what I realized is that her style flows so smoothly, like a dancing sea. While I can do the steps, it just does not feel quite right for me, you know what I mean? I just hope she is not disappointed that I am not using her exact moves. Naruko spoke softly, feeling a little downcast that she wanted to find her own path. She then felt a warm hand on her shoulder and looked up to see Shanks smiling brightly. Hey, kiddo. If there is one thing I know about mothers, it is that they are always incredibly proud of their daughters. I know she is not upset. In fact, I think she would be thrilled to see you finding your own special way, even if it is a little different from hers. Shanks beamed as they returned to the camp to see everyone having a joyful evening. Hey, little Maelstrom. Welcome back, the ramen is still warm. Naruko eagerly sat down, happily slurping up her favorite dinner with gusto. After finishing a mountain of noodles, she became so wonderfully sleepy from her giant meal that she wobbled right off to bed for a deep, peaceful slumber. 3 months later on a different beautiful island, this one with a waterfall, Naruko was doing wonderfully with Shanks's lessons. She now wore a bright red sash around her waist and carried a light wooden training sword with a red handle, perfectly sized just for her. Standing bravely on the slippery rocks near the rushing water, she was trying to magically part the waterfall for what felt like the 1000th time. I will get it this time. I have too. We have been playing on this island for so long, and I want to show the crew how much I have learned. Naruko thought to herself. With a cheerful shout, she gathered all her happy wind energy and swooshed her training sword, watching in awe as the waterfall gently split into 2 smooth curtains of water. Hooray! I did it! Her cheering paused when she noticed a secret little cave hidden right behind where the water usually fell. Bursting with curiosity, she hopped across the stepping stones and peeked into the dim opening. Hey, Kurama, could you help me see in the dark? She asked her friendly fox companion in her mind. Of course, little one. But step softly, I sense something quite magical in here, Kurama replied warmly. Naruko's eyes glowed with a soft, friendly light, helping her see perfectly in the shadows. Deep inside, she found a sparkling crystal tree holding one very peculiar fruit. It was a beautiful midnight blue, covered in pretty little swirls, with a leafy green top like a pineapple. Wow, this looks like a magical fruit. Should I take it? Naruko wondered. I say bring it back to Shanks and see what he thinks. I am sure he will let you keep it if you want, Kurama suggested. Naruko nodded, gently plucking the fruit from the tree, and skipped happily out of the cave. She carefully splashed through the gentle river and jogged back toward the Red Hair Pirates camp. Once she reached the camp, she was a bit out of breath from her big adventure. She spotted Shanks sitting comfortably under a large, colorful umbrella. Hey, Shanks! I did it, I parted the waterfall. Shanks looked up and noticed Naruko was hiding her right hand behind her back. It is about time you mastered that waterfall, kiddo. I was wondering if we should build a little town and stay here forever, Shanks teased playfully. Naruko pouted just a little bit at the joke, but she knew he was only being silly. Well, since you are being silly, maybe I will not show you the amazing treasure I found behind the waterfall, Naruko declared with a bright grin. Shanks immediately stopped laughing. What kind of treasure are you talking about, Naruko? Shanks asked, genuinely curious. The rest of the crew gathered around as Naruko proudly brought her hand forward, revealing the swirly blue fruit. Shanks's eyes grew as wide as dinner plates. I know that fruit, Shanks said, completely amazed. Oh, could you please tell me what kind it is? Naruko asked eagerly. If Shanks's surprised face meant anything, this fruit was incredibly special. Fascinating, Kurama added mentally, equally curious to hear the story behind it. Shanks stood up slowly, marveling at the lovely treasure. That is the Midnight Sparkle fruit. It grants whoever eats it the power to create beautiful starry night skies and soft, comforting shadows. It is a very rare and wonderful gift. He placed a gentle hand on her shoulder, looking very serious but kind. Naruko, this is a very special fruit. It holds the power to bring peace and quiet to the world. Used wisely, you could become one of the greatest protectors the sea has ever known. Naruko suddenly understood how important this was. If I can use this magic to help my friends and protect people, then it is the perfect power for me, Naruko thought with a bright smile. She quietly thought about whether she was ready for such a big responsibility. Go ahead and try it, Naruko. With that magic, You will be able to do incredible things to help others, Kurama encouraged her. Nodding her head with determination, she made her decision and took a big, brave bite of the magical fruit. A strange new power. Yuck, that tasted absolutely awful. Someone, please get me a giant bowl of ramen, Naruko shouted, scrunching her face up as the rest of the crew stared in awe. She had just finished eating the legendary midnight mystery fruit. And Naruko, how do you feel? Shanks asked, looking a little bit worried. I feel completely fine. Naruko chirped. She didn't feel any different, until she tried to use her new magic. Suddenly, her right arm transformed into a sparkly, purplish black shadow. Whoa, now that is super cool. She pulled her arm back and playfully thrust it forward. Her shadowy arm stretched all the way to the edge of the forest, where her hand formed into a soft cushion that gently bounced off a tree trunk before snapping right back to her. Well, that is fascinating, Naruko giggled. She looked at her shadowy arm, molded it into the shape of a giant, friendly shadow hand, and wiggled its fingers in front of her face. Okay, Naruko, that is amazing, but now we have one more thing to teach you, Shanks smiled. Since you are doing so well with your wind magic, we are going to take you to a group of people who specialize in these kinds of spectacular powers. Some of the crewmates widened their eyes as they realized exactly who Shanks meant. Captain, please tell me you aren't talking about the greatest crew in the world. One sailor gasped. Shanks looked at the crewmate with a curious twinkle in his eye. Oh, how did you know I was talking about the great Whitebeard? You didn't eat a mind-reading fruit, did you? The crew giggled at their captain's teasing. All right, everyone, load up. We are setting sail. Shanks announced. Once they were back on the ship, Naruko sat cheerfully on the railing, watching the sparkly ocean go by while practicing making fun shadow puppet shapes with her hands. The rules of the launcher. Hey, Naruko. She felt a gentle hand on her shoulder and turned to see Yasopp smiling brightly. Are you ready for your next lesson? Naruko jumped down from the rail, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Are you finally going to teach me how to use the bubble burst launcher? Yasopp laughed and patted the young girl on the head. That's right. By the time I am done teaching you, you will be able to hit a tiny target from 100 yards away with your eyes closed. He led her to a safe, colorful target range set up on the deck. All right, Naruko. Here are the golden rules of using a launcher, Yasopp explained, holding up his fingers to count them off. 1. Always be prepared, never draw your launcher unless you are ready to use it for practice. 2. Think before you launch, once you release a magic bubble, you cannot take it back. Always be certain of your target. 3. Safety first, never, ever point your launcher at a friend. It breaks trust, and someone could accidentally get a boo-boo. Naruko nodded solemnly, understanding just how important his words were. Yasopp handed her a beautifully crafted launcher. Now, I want you to aim right down the center, take a deep breath, let it out gently, and release. Naruko followed his instructions perfectly, but her bubble missed the center of the target by just an inch. Oh, barnacles, she sighed. Whoa, do not be upset. That was an incredibly close shot. You might even rival my son's skills someday, Yasopp beamed. Since Yasopp always talked proudly about his son Usopp and a cheerful, stretchy boy named Luffy, Naruko knew this was a massive compliment. Really? You think so? She asked, her smile returning. I am positive, Yasopp encouraged her. Naruko happily went back to practicing, getting better with every single try. A few hours later, Shanks walked over holding a neatly wrapped box. Give it a rest for a little while, Naruko. You are running out of targets to pop, he laughed. Okay, sure. What is in the box, Shanks? Naruko asked curiously. Find out for yourself, kiddo, Shanks replied with an amused grin. Naruko eagerly opened the box to find a fantastic new adventurer's outfit. It featured a lovely purple long-sleeved shirt with shiny gray buttons, crisp white trousers, and brand new, sturdy boots. There was even a vibrant purple sash to hold her practice gear. The Great Whitebeard. A couple of weeks later, the crew arrived at Whitebeard's magnificent territory. Now, Naruko, remember to be polite. The Great Whitebeard respects bravery, and I know you are the bravest girl around, Shanks said cheerfully. You bet I am. Naruko cheered, walking proudly by Shanks's side in her new outfit. The crew trailed behind them, rolling a giant, colorful barrel filled with sweet sparkling fruit cider, a friendly gift for the legendary captain. They entered a massive, ancient courtyard made of smooth green stone. At the far end stood Whitebeard and his cheerful crew, including the famous Marco, Jozu, and Ace. Whitebeard himself was absolutely giant, looking every bit the legendary leader he was. Hello, Whitebeard. Shanks called out playfully. Ah, Shanks! What brings you to my island? Whitebeard boomed, his voice echoing warmly across the courtyard. I brought you some delicious sparkling cider from my hometown. Let's share a glass, Shanks offered. He nodded to Naruko, who magically summoned a giant, beautiful saucer using her new shadow powers. She gracefully poured the cider and floated it over to the giant captain. Whitebeard drank the cider happily. So, you didn't just come to share a drink. What is your proposition? I want you to help train one of my brightest young sailors, Shanks said, gesturing to Naruko. If you help her master her new magical abilities, we will be forever grateful allies. Whitebeard looked intrigued. He leaned forward, looking closely at the young girl. Naruko stood tall. My name is Naruko Uzu. Before she could finish, Whitebeard let out a booming laugh. Gururara. You look like a little fish cake. What a cute name. Naruko puffed out her cheeks, crossing her arms playfully. It means maelstrom, mister. And why are you called Whitebeard when you do not even have a beard? You should be called White Mustache. The entire courtyard went completely silent. Then, Whitebeard let out an even louder, joyous laugh. Gururara. You got me, little one. No one has teased me like that in years. Naruko smiled, regaining her polite posture. Like I was saying, I am Naruko, and I would love it if your amazing crew could help me practice my magic. Suddenly, a young girl named Haruta leapt forward. You can't just tease our captain and then ask for favors. I challenge you to a friendly sparring match. I will show you how strong we are. Naruko's bright blue eyes filled with determination. I accept your challenge. Let's see what you can do. Haruta dashed forward with her practice wand, moving with incredible speed. They twirled and danced around the courtyard, their wooden wands clacking together like a wonderful performance. Haruta was fast, but Naruko was clever. Naruko focused her magic, ducked under a gentle swing, and pushed a soft burst of wind from her palm. The gentle breeze carefully swept Haruta off her feet, landing her safely onto a soft patch of moss. Naruko immediately sheathed her wand, walked over, and offered Haruta a hand with a warm, $1,000,000 smile. That was a great match. Let's be friends. Haruta blushed happily and took her hand. Whitebeard clapped his massive hands together. Gururara. We have a deal, Shanks. For a young girl to outmaneuver Haruta so gracefully, she must have quite the talent. Tell me, little one, what kind of magic do you have? Naruko nodded. She concentrated, and her body transformed into a brilliant, glowing silhouette of purple starry shadows, her blue eyes shining brightly. Whitebeard's eyes widened in sheer amazement. By the stars. The legendary midnight magic, he whispered, looking thrilled. She will be a wonderful student. A magical game of tag. Ace, the friendly fire user, stepped forward with a huge grin. If we are going to teach you, we need to see how fast you are. Let's play a game of magical tag. You are on. Naruko cheered. Ace leapt into the air, tossing harmless, colorful firecrackers that popped like fireworks. Naruko giggled, using her shadow wind swirls to glide swiftly out of the way. She moved like a graceful dancer, dodging the bright sparks. You are quick. Ace complimented, tossing another sparkling fire puff. Naruko magically hopped over it. She clasped her hands together and called out, shadow vacuum bubbles. 4 soft, bubbly bursts of air floated rapidly toward Ace. He dodged 3 of them, but the 4th one gave him a playful tap right on his shoulder. Tag. You're it. Naruko cheered, returning to her normal, colorful self and rubbing the back of her head shyly. That is really all I know how to do so far. That was incredibly impressive, kiddo, Marco praised, smiling warmly. By the time we are done practicing together, you will be one of the best explorers on the sea. Shanks walked over and proudly patted Naruko on the head. Well, it looks like you are in wonderful hands. We will leave you here to learn, Naruko. Have fun, make friends, and do your best. In truth, we probably will not be back for a couple of years, little one. This is where our adventure together takes a pause, and your very own journey begins, Shanks explained gently. That does not mean we will not see each other along the way, but you have to go out and live a wondrous life that is true to your heart. After all, my old captain always used to say, what is the point of being a sea explorer if you cannot follow your dreams? So, you had better follow your dreams and grow braver every day, do you hear me? And just in case you need some guidance, I brought this for you. Shanks pulled out a carefully wrapped present and handed it to Naruko. Naruko unwrapped it to discover a magnificent silver walking staff, carved from the rare and beautiful ocean gem. It had a shining bronze top and a smooth, midnight blue handle decorated with swirling sea patterns. Is this the legendary ocean gem staff? Naruko asked in pure awe. Shanks nodded warmly, stepping back with a proud smile. Yasopp then stepped forward and handed the girl a beautifully crafted brass spyglass. Naruko, this is the newest invention I created myself. It is called a star tracker, and it uses these special glowing lenses, Yasopp explained, handing her a small velvet pouch filled with colorful, shimmering glass pieces. There are instructions on how to keep the lenses sparkling clean and how to read the constellations. Oh, and the lenses in the blue boxes are specially made to see through the thickest fog. Alright, kiddo, make sure to take good care of yourself and grow wonderfully wise, okay? He asked. Naruko nodded, a happy tear escaping her eye. She looked back at Shanks and ran up to him, wrapping her arms tightly around his waist in a giant bear hug. You had better come back to visit me, okay? Naruko said, her voice full of emotion. Shanks nodded gently. I promise, Naruko, I will be back to see you. Grow brave and kind, just like you were always meant to be. Naruko nodded softly. Okay. Dad. Shanks looked surprised for a moment, but his face quickly softened into a bright smile as he hugged her securely. Grow strong, my sweet daughter. I will be back before you know it. Shanks smiled, then stood up and started walking toward the horizon with his crew. Naruko smiled warmly, then turned to see her friend Ace smiling right back at her. Come on, little sister, let's get you some hot cocoa and plenty of rest so you can be ready for tomorrow, okay? Ace asked gently. He placed a supportive arm around Naruko's shoulders, guiding her toward her cozy cabin. 6 years later, a 17-year-old Naruko stood happily on the deck of the great ship, the Moby Dick. She wore a bright orange and black tunic with a beautiful dark purple swirl stitched onto the left sleeve. The sleeves were rolled up, showing a fascinating, glowing birthmark on her forearm that she always said was a gift from the stars. She also wore a magical compass on her left wrist to help her navigate the vast oceans. She had grown tall and graceful, and she carried her beautiful ocean gem staff safely tucked into a dark purple sash around her waist. Her spirit was incredibly bright, having been taught the wonderful arts of focus and joyful energy by her mentors, Whitebeard and Marco. Naruko had practiced her special magical abilities so much that she could now create delightful, dancing shadow puppets out of thin air to entertain the crew. She could move as swiftly as a sunbeam, gliding gracefully wherever light and shadows played. She could even blend perfectly into the shade to play the ultimate games of hide and seek. And that was just the beginning of her wonderful talents. Naruko smiled as she looked up at Whitebeard, who was like a gentle grandfather to her, surrounded by their cheerful crew. So, Pops, I guess it is finally time for me to start my own journey, huh? Naruko asked with a fond smile. That is right, little one, but just know you will always have a home here with us. We wish you the absolute best of luck out there. Go and make us proud, Whitebeard said with a booming, joyful laugh. Naruko nodded gracefully and started walking to the edge of the ship, where her good friend Haruta stopped her to give her a warm hug. Haruta smiled sweetly. Make sure to take care of yourself, little sister. Do not let anyone eat all your favorite snacks on your adventures, she teased kindly as she let her go. She then walked over to where Ace, Marco, and Thatch were waiting. Good luck out there, Naruko. Make sure to always follow your compass, Marco said, patting her gently on the shoulder. Thatch followed right behind, whispering, do not forget to share your delicious recipes with the new friends you meet, he giggled happily. This left Ace, who stepped forward and gave Naruko a giant hug. Before stepping back, he placed something very special on top of her head. Naruko reached up and took it off to look. It was a beautiful replica of Ace's favorite adventure hat, but this one was black with a matching string. The pendant connected to it was a vibrant, electric purple with a cute, smiling gray fox on it. Naruko beamed. She had always loved Ace's hat, and now she had a wonderful version just for her. She immediately hugged her older brother figure, feeling so thankful for the wonderful friendship they shared. Ace began to laugh a hearty, joyful laugh. Hey, Naruko, I have a special favor to ask you, Ace said as she looked up at him. A little bird told me that my younger brother, Luffy, is gathering a group of friends for a voyage somewhere in the East Blue. I even heard Yasopp's son is sailing with him. I would love it if you joined them, since you were heading that way anyway, and maybe help look out for him if it is no trouble. Ace was gently cut off as Naruko placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder and smiled her absolute brightest, $1,000,000 smile. That sounds perfectly wonderful, Ace. I would not have it any other way. I will do my very best to look after him, she promised. Putting her new hat firmly on her head, she gracefully leapt off the ship, landing gently on the back of a friendly, giant black hawk that was waiting to give her a ride. She turned to wave goodbye to her beloved friends as she soared into the beautiful blue sky. Hey, Kurama, can you help me find a friendly spark of energy similar to Yasopp's? Naruko asked the magical spirit as she settled her travel bag carefully in front of her. It is very faint, but I can feel a warm twinkle. He is over in the Konami Islands region, Kurama answered playfully. Alright. Get ready, Luffy, here we come. Naruko cheered happily to the boundless sky. That concludes today's video. If you enjoyed the content, channel your chakra to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Thank you for all the support. Until next time. 6 Path Weeb.